Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Unity of Command 2, a new turn-based World War II strategy game that allows you to fight through World War II on the Western Front from 1943 until 1945. In our last episode, we fought the Battle of the Scheldt, and after 2 attempts, we were finally able to win in a bloody and probably not a textbook way, but we were able to win the Battle of the Scheldt, which will open up the port of Amsterdam for supplies. Until that is operational, which is still going to be some time, however, we're certainly going to be facing some supply challenges. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving into the battles that start to drive us eastward toward the Rhine and toward the German border. And now we're going to be fighting the Battle of Lorraine. November 8th, 1944. Due to the supply issues, the dashing charge across France, led by the U.S. Third Army, gradually slowed down and finally came to a halt before the fortress town of Metz. By November, with the supply situation improving and a foothold across the Moselle River, Third Army hopes to outflank Metz and resume more mobile operations. Further to the south, the Seventh Army aims for Strasbourg. 7 turns? Is that like for major victories? Doesn't look like there's any secondaries either, which is interesting. Our prestige does start this battle higher than it ended the last one, so that's always good to see. Okay. I'm so glad the Polish airborne survived the last battle. Hey look, more river crossings. God fucking damn it, I'm sick of them. Alright, so this battle looks interesting. The U.S. Army is sort of strung out. We've got a couple of troops across the Moselle River here. The Germans have quite a bit of armor and troops here in dense terrain. There's good forests here down on the south. There's a little bit of open country over here behind Metz. So that's presumably where we're going to try and break through. Some of our troops are in good shape. Some of our troops are not. So these guys have a little bit under strength. So we'll go ahead and reinforce them to full strength. Is there a way that, like, you can just do this without having to click on every unit? It always kind of gets a little bit tedious to kind of click through every unit and make sure you're not missing anything. I think someone said there was a way in the HQ you could do it, but I haven't seen anything. I did like the replacement crisis, though. That was definitely a thing. Attrition took a pretty heavy toll on some of the Commonwealth forces that had suffered very heavy losses in the Normandy campaign. So that by the time the breakout had happened, some of them had kind of spent their energy. This guy only has 2. I'm going to have to spend a little bit of prestige to get this Free French armor up a little bit. So we get it to 4 steps and then also get some M4 Shermans. I didn't want to spend 60 prestige, but honestly we kind of probably needed to. They were too weak to be an effective unit. Okay, so I don't really know. Like, I'm not sure. Right click. So where does this armor go? Yeah, I don't know where that U.S. armor is supposed to go. It says there's 2 steps in reserve. But where they're supposed to go, I don't know. This says there's 10. Yeah, I don't know how that works. In any event. Alright, we're going to jump in. At higher difficulty settings, you won't have as many replacements to fill in. You'll need to pick and choose which ones get them. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I'm playing on normal difficulty. I'm not pretending to be an expert. Because I suck at this game. Alright, so primary objectives. Take Metz, ideally by turn 6. Strasbourg over here to the far east by turn 6. And then Saarleutern, which is up here in the north by turn 8. Additionally, you can take the Savine Gap for some elite replacements, I think, by turn 10 over here. So, presumably, since we're across the river, we probably want to try and come in behind Metz and cut their supply. Metz is obviously getting its supply via this road to this dump back here at Saarbrücken. Recon looks like they've got a unit there on the depot. So So I think what I'd like to do, let's see here. All right, so that, wow, we drove the enemy back just with an artillery bombardment? Nice. All right. And again, we drove them back again, just with artillery. No, didn't drive those guys back with artillery. Meanwhile, this German armor is veteran, and they will eat us up. So they're also dug in, which is probably why they will dig us up. So let's not attack dug in armor quite yet. Alright, so we drove back a couple of units here to kind of get in to the enemy rear. I've used most of my command points from those units. Alright, so we breached that defensive line. I think the question really is how passive will the Germans be in this battle? Because if we can drive them back with relative ease, you know, if they counterattack, that's something we have to deal with. But my hope is that they don't counterattack and that they just kind of sit in their entrenchments. Because these guys are in a fort, so if they attack out in advance, you know, that might be something that they don't want to do. I'm not sure. Okay. Alright, so that's probably it for turn 1. It looks like the Germans get 2 reinforcement units on turn 2 and turn 3. Alright, so they... Wow. 3K, and they drove us back. Artillery bombardment there against our lead armored unit, but they didn't actually attack it. So they did attack our infantry, but that's okay. Frankly, we have plenty of infantry. They also sacrificed their entrenchment here for this armor. So this armor is no longer entrenched. We're going to hit it with air. We're going to move up with our Free French armor, drive these guys back, and destroy them. So we overran those troops. And... okay, so we actually drove those troops back too. I can move this armor in. So I've actually now cut Metz's supply off, which was the primary objective here by moving this armor in here. So I would expect a counterattack against our armor here. So we're going to spend some supply points or some command points to get their supply up. Because we now have troops, which I'm assuming, I mean, I guess they could bring supply through here, but there's no roadway there. And there's some rough terrain, so I'm hoping this will cut Metz off so that it'll surrender in the next couple of turns. Meanwhile, these German troops surprisingly just withdrew, leaving us the roadway down here. Heavy disruption on the southern flank. So these German troops are dug in, but they're about to be surrounded. These guys are probably out of supply already. Our troops are advancing on the depot near the Severn Gap. We've also advanced within a hex of this gap, so I'm guessing these German troops will remain surrounded, so they're probably going to pull back. These guys may try and advance in to cut our supply, but the alternative would also be for them to pull back because they're at risk of getting themselves surrounded as well. Meanwhile, I think Metz has been cut off, so that could be good. don't see a clear path to Nancy where our main dump is. Okay, I guess we'll see what happens here. This will be pretty interesting. A bunch of the German units' supply situation is very bad. They don't do much at all. They pull one unit back. That's it. Meanwhile, they don't even withdraw from this depot, which gives us, thank you, for some free supply. They also don't withdraw from this depot? I mean, we're getting overextended there for sure, but now we just took 2 of the German supply depots. Meanwhile, apparently we did not cut the supply to Metz, unfortunately. I really would have thought we would have. We're going to bombard these troops. Alright, these guys are dug in. Let's do a fixed attack there. Nice! So we drove those mechanized troops back in front of Metz. So we'll advance there. We'll then use some command points, which we don't have. We need to rebuild that bridge. So that'll rebuild the rail bridge. Should help our supply situation. Alright, so we've now overrun these guys. Move these guys down this way. I think the depot's safe, but I'm going to pull back that armor 1 hex just to be sure. And now we have Metz surrounded. So at the very least now I would expect a pretty fierce German counterattack to try and relieve Metz. Meanwhile, I don't really want to directly attack it. I can kind of starve it out. Okay. Getting a little bit overextended here. Pull these guys back over here. Guard that roadway. Again, I don't think they can get through here to Nancy. That would be a pretty long drive. So Metz is surrounded. We're driving in the Saverne Gap as well as Strasbourg. I don't know how this German armor's tracking its supply. Uh, 2-1. I'd do the 1-1. Okay, can we also do a feint? Nice. -2 enemy support. Okay. So let's see what happens next turn. We're going to be 4 turns in out of a 10-turn scenario. I'm keeping 1 supply in reserve in case the Germans do something that gets in behind us and takes a depot or does something tricky. Okay. Alright, so Metz is now surrounded. I think what we want to do is bombard this armor. We've breached. Driven them back. I need to advance in Saarlauten as well, so I will advance in north. We're also advancing on Saarbrücken, which is not actually an objective, so we might as well not do that. Those German troops are almost dead. These guys are dead. All right. So I'd like advance. You're way overextended down there in the south. All right. So advance along that railway. We have to keep these guys in front of the Germans there. Metz, they're still behind some fortifications. Let's hold off on the attack. But we will bombard Metz. So actually we got rid of both their fort and their fortifications. Meanwhile, supply situation, not so great. Lots of disruption. But everybody actually, in theory, except for these guys way in the south, should be in supply. So we'll spend some points there to get them into supply. Meanwhile, we'll feint at Strasbourg. This armor's supply situation will be even worse next turn. Artillery there didn't breach, but did reduce their effectiveness a little bit. So I think we'll go ahead and bomb. Who do we want to bomb? Probably these fresh troops here on the flank. It doesn't do anything. All right. So turn 6 is when you want to take Metz and Strasbourg by. I don't know if we'll actually do that by turn 6. Some fresh German armor moving over here. I think these are SS units, but there's only 2 steps. Well, 3 now. Okay. No, they don't need to be completely surrounded. They're actually out of supply for 2 turns now. So we'll get these guys back into supply by spending some command points. So these guys are going to start dying next turn. They're already cut off. They can't trace their supply anywhere. Okay. Alright, so these German troops are completely out of supply. They're still entrenched. Just a little bit of a problem. We'll pull this armor back because it's in really rough shape supply-wise. Actually, can we move them anywhere more directly in supply? Not really. Alright, so their forts are gone. I'm just tying up so many troops. Continuing to surround these guys, but anyway, so all right. So I'm going to advance that a ways. This armor is going to advance on the spare gap. Actually going to pull these guys back a little bit. Attack there. They drove them back. Actually, they didn't. Alright, 3 KA. We did lose 1 casualty there. That was kind of annoying. Move him over this way. Alright, so the supply situation, this guy's still going to be out of supply. But I kind of think it's worth the wow, we just took Strasbourg. That was so easy. Nice. Okay. I didn't expect that to happen. Okay. So now we just need tack air. We'll focus on the SS up here. Move these guys over this way. Attack and nearly destroyed them. Oh, nope. There we got him. We destroyed that German army here near Zarlaten. Just make sure these guys can't escape. I guess the risk here is that they try and make a run for it across the river. But I think that would be unlikely. They'd abandon their objective. So we'll see if we can hold Strasbourg. But we just pocketed this very strong German unit here of regular infantry, but it's a level 6 step unit. So we'll move forward here. German mechanized counterattack here. Pretty heavy damage to that infantry. Meanwhile, blowing bridges east of Strasbourg, but they don't actually make a play to retake Strasbourg. Meanwhile, there's a bridge across the Rhine near Strasbourg. Three KIA and breached. And dead. Alright, so we just destroyed that German unit. We'll move these guys who are low on supply onto the rail line. Okay. Meanwhile, we'll advance these guys in this direction. Alright, so Metz has also fallen. So Metz and Strasbourg are both ours. Now we really just need to advance on Zarlaten. So what we're going to do is we're going to deploy our one remaining supply depot here at Metz. Put our armor forward. Nice. Alright, so we just destroyed that infantry unit here. As we're closing in on the objective. Alright, I would like to take the gap, if there's a way. Wait, I thought that was a bombard. Damn it, I meant to bombard, not to attack that one guy. Okay. I think I took some unnecessary casualties there. If I had more patience, we'd be better off. If I had more patience, I wouldn't butcher quite as many of my men. That seems like a fruitless strategy. Nonetheless, victory is victory. I don't quite know how the 10 reserve armor works, honestly. Meanwhile, mechanized counterattack against our troops near Zarlaten there. Infantry 2, they drove us back. So they did pull their troops back from that rail line entirely, actually. Which I'm curious what that means. Like, we could probably cut Zarlaten off pretty easily if we attack here. Because that would cut the rail line through Saarbrücken. Alright. So we drove them back. Or almost, we might have actually destroyed them. Meanwhile, these troops do need to pull back onto a supply depot. They're completely out of supply. Okay. Okay, so we still have several turns left to finish them off. Wait, what happened to our supply there? Okay. Alright, so what's the supply situation over here? But honestly, we can just pull this back. We'll bring more supply up through Metz. I don't want to cut supply entirely, but I think next turn I may also cut supply out of Nancy and move it forward closer to the front. Okay. These troops will stay at Strasbourg. For security reasons, I'm tempted to just blow this bridge. I guess I can't. I guess major rail bridges you can't just blow. Are there any bridges we need to repair? Yes. Alright, the 2 bridges at Metz are repaired. Meanwhile, this mechanized troop here... Alright. Okay, so we're closing in on the last objective here, as well as the gap. The gap, all we have to do is take it by turn 10. The game's janky. J Street, why would I start over? Sorry, not following. We took the gap. Alright, they could counterattack out of here. But I'm hoping they don't. So we took the gap. Secondary objective. I don't know if that was 20 prestige or 20 like superior reinforcements or whatever. We're going to go ahead and bombard these guys. That didn't do anything. We're going to go ahead and bring some supply forward here. Okay. Hey, we breached. We destroyed their fort. We brought it down to an entrenchment. And now we removed all of that entrenchment. So 2 set attacks or whatever you call it. And that was a pretty good success, I think. So next turn, the enemy won't have a fortification at Zarlaten, and we can just attack directly. Meanwhile, we can launch a feint here on the enemy flank. Pull these troops back a little bit. All right. So I think our right flank is probably secure, but I'll make sure we've got more troops than we need here. I'll move these guys across that marsh. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've been streaming for about an hour and a half. J Street, sorry. No restarting, though. Sorry that you just got the notification. All right, so Zarlaten is our last objective. It won't be a gold battle, but still should be a solid victory for us. I'm assuming we can take it in the next 2 turns. Maybe that's a risky assumption. So 2 units bombard. Let's move the armor forward. Now let's go ahead and bomb the city. Well, that didn't do anything. Nice. All right, so now we can crank... Oh, I can't... I was hoping to race the armor. Well, we raced that armor forward in any event. So we took the objective. So the battle should end as long as we hold it. With a 6-step armored unit there, I fully expect to hold it. Alright, pull these guys back into supply along the rail line. And I think we're good. That should be a victory in the Battle of Lorraine, or however you pronounce it. Another victory for yours truly, THG. Objective completed. End scenario. Oath of Kufra. I don't know what that means, but we got it. Scenario complete. A score of 175, 12 enemy units KIA, 18 prisoners of war. And we didn't lose that much in the way of casualties. That was a pretty efficient battle, so I'm pretty happy with that. We didn't even have to use any of our, like, what do you call it? Cards. So we are 2 battles in. We won whatever the Oath of whatever is. The Oath of whatever. 175. We've got 2 more battles that we can fight immediately before the another 4 battles here. They really cram the battles in on the German on the river. J Straight, thanks for the bits. All right, so we can either do Belfort Gap or Hurtgen Forest. I think Belfort Gap is the next one. So this is going to be Free French forces. So the last one was the American Third Army under Patton, driving east along toward the Rhine. They were across the Moselle, but I believe they got to the Rhine. Actually, no, the Rhine looks a little bit further east, so into Alsace-Lorraine. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and cut this one off. This was episode number 20 of our look at Unity of Command 2, a new turn-based strategy game out by 2x2 Games, and the sequel to the 2016 classic, I think it was? Or actually, it might have been earlier than that. In any event, we won the Battle of Lorraine, and we are moving on to the Battle of Belfort, but that will be for another time. I hope you guys are continuing to enjoy the series. As always, please leave your thoughts below. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer, as always, saying thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'm out.